Josiah.
Mate,
Glogoski.
that's it.
Did I say it right?
No,
Oh.
Glogoski.
Oh. Josiah Glogoski.
Yeah.
Nice. Great you're here.
Thank you.
Thanks for... I was actually away when you testified.
Yeah.
Heard great things.
Thank you.
So, good job. How's life going?
It's going pretty good at the moment.
Yeah?
Yeah, everything seems to be working.
Yeah, what's exceptionally good at the moment?
The Lord is exceptionally good at the moment. Yeah.
Shock. And any of his creation in particular?
There's a few.
Good.
Yeah.
You only need one.
Yeah, exactly.
First time you've testified
Yeah.
in a community?
Oh, I sort of did my testimony at youth,
Okay.
at the youth camp last year.
Yep.
That was a different site though.
Okay.
So I felt this one, I sort of more wanted to, with the shorter period, I more wanted to speak about what God has sort of done instead of more about like my last one went into more about my past and
Right.
what happened growing up and stuff. Whereas this one I was like, man, I just really I felt on my heart to just like make this about God's testimony instead of about what happened in my life sort of thing.
Great. That's cool.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you doing that. Glogoski, where does that come from?
It's Polish.
Polish.
Yeah. I think Aaron, last time he was on this, he said it was in World War II, one of our ancestors from Poland fled to New Zealand, which was so wrong. So wrong. That would be my dad's dad, which he's not.
Okay.
It was in the late 1800s. Yeah.
Okay.
I think, yeah. When Prussia invaded Poland and we had a royal brother and sister that fled from Poland to New Zealand.
There you go.
Yeah.
And it's still actually spelt the same and all that? It's
I think so.
It's kept its
Yeah.
consistency?
Kept its consistency through.
Okay, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, well done. What's one of the words how have people said it? Any standouts? No.
Not really. It's different usually every time. Same with Josiah. Like a lot of people, they will say Josiah, Joseph. Sort of like, it's all right. You just learn to say yeah when people get close to it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So, where do you want to start today? Like, what's God been working on your heart lately? So, don't know.
I just thought I was coming in to answer questions.
All right, let's. What's probably a great recent revelation of God's character lately? Say, what's really you feel drawn to about the Lord?
Lately, probably like my dad's a bit obsessed with revelations and end times and stuff like that. And I was always like grown up with that. So I was going to be dead by the time I was 18. That's how I grew up. I remember I was 8 years old. And I went to my footy practice and I told everyone in the footy team, we're going to be dead before 18. Like Dad says the end of the world's coming. So we're gone. So I was always growing up under that. And like, it was always just after like, oh, it's happening this time. It's happening this time. And obviously he never said this is for sure.
Yeah.
He'd always be like, no man, no. But you grow up just hearing it. You learn to just be like, oh, I don't care about that anymore. I don't want to know about I don't want to learn about it. I don't want to hear about it. And he's so passionate about it. So when he gets so excited and he'll just go for hours. So it was always like a shush dad topic. But lately it's like, since I've sort of come to the Lord, the start of it was sort of him just slowly cleaning up a lot of the bad stuff. And now I feel like I'm sort of in that where I'm sort of like, man, now I'm interested in the things of him.
Cool.
And yeah, and end times, I definitely like when he talks about like in the end days, he'll pour out a spirit. And I'm very interested in like the resurrection power. Like I think I've been in the Jesus' death and forgiveness and the blood of Jesus, like forgiving me and like washing over all my mistakes and stuff. I've been in that period for a while now. And now I think I'm just switching over to now. I'm like, all right, now focusing on Jesus' resurrection power, like the power that's in me now.
Awesome.
And sort of figuring out how I can let him live within me and do what he wants to do.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And so there's a maturity, you sort of.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, okay, the milk's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I want to start chewing away at some stuff.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I think me and Dad were very like, we can get really just passionate about it, and then we're just like, use me, Lord. But I think God took a while to sort of say, like, I need to clean you up before I use you. So sins I kept falling into, even though I was like, take my life, you're like, it's all yours, and then I'd go sin the next day and fall back into that sort of trap. And so I think it took a while of being like, nah, you need to. It was actually sit down. I went to breakfast with Paulie once.
Wow.
And he was talking about he had people coming to him and like with alcohol problems and stuff, and saying like, oh man, I feel bad because I'm drinking, or like while I'm trying to get to know the Lord. And he would always be like, man, don't focus on that. Focus on getting closer with God. Like, he's the one that will clean that up. Like when you try to be like, oh no, I'm going to stop, and then come to God sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so I think that was sort of me at the start. I'd be like, all right, Lord, like I'm going to clean up this mess, and then you can use me. And yeah, when Paul was like, nah, bro, just focus on getting close to God. Like just seek his heart. And so I was like, oh, okay. And so I started doing that, and then I started just finding myself not wanting to do those things anymore.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a good thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. The closer you focus on the Lord, the more you focus on the Lord, all of a sudden the desires.
They just, gone.
Otherwise you focus on the desires to get rid of them, and you end up
falling back into them. Yeah.
Good point. Definitely. Good thought, Paulie. You're a wise man.
He is. He really is.
So, you said you sort of rededicated your heart to the Lord. Do you want to? When was that? When did that sort of happen?
Okay. I probably got first baptized when I was a kid. So I grew up in a Christian home. Christian parents. I feel like my mum got an unfortunate rap in my testimony. She didn't get mentioned at all.
Oh, wow.
So she was there, unfortunately, for her to have to listen to not getting. Like I was just praising my dad, and she didn't get anything.
Oh.
But unfortunately for her, she was like not the bad guy growing up, but she was always the strict one. Got us like made sure we eat breakfast, taught us all that, made us do our homework, and drove us to school. And so she was always that one. Whereas Dad was the fun one that got to talk about God and everything. So Mum sort of gets that unfortunate rap. Like she had to be the parent while Dad got to sort of be the fun one. But they were good. They were both very good. Like you need that. A lot of the stuff I do now, it was from Mum just drilling it into us like as a kid.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we grew up in a Christian house, and then my parents split when I was 10. I think I got baptized when I was 9 because Aaron got baptized because he like felt like getting baptized, and so they were just like, "Oh, you should get baptized," and I was like, "Yeah, sweet, I'll do it." I don't know what it means, but I'll do it. I get dunked in water, sweet. And yeah, so I didn't know what it meant. And then I hit my teens, and I moved from King's College to Marymount, which is a Catholic school, which was just a party school basically. It was just footy and partying, and I just went straight off the path. I wasn't a bad kid. I still sort of had those morals in me that stopped me from doing a lot of bad stuff. But I think it was more my character that like started just getting tainted. And and then my mum, she not remarried, but found a new boyfriend for about 4 years. And for the first half of that, like he was different to my dad. We never had a lot of money growing up with my dad. Like, we always had what we needed, but he came in and we thought he had a lot of money, so he started buying gifts, and he was an ex-footy player, and so I loved footy, and so he was starting to coach my team and starting to teach me all these things, and sort of taught me about the world a lot, which is, in the grand scheme of things, wasn't the best thing, but he was like knowledgeable in the world, so he sort of was teaching me how to be a man in the world. But obviously that comes with partying and girls and stuff like that. So at the start, I admired him very quickly because he had this great past that I thought he did. And so I sort of loved him quite deeply pretty early. And then about halfway through, I guess he was done with the family. So he just changed, he just snapped. And he just became like the opposite. And he became very verbally abusive, psychological games and stuff. And he just seemed to have a thing against me for a while, and so that was about 2-year period where it was just pretty bad. I hated being home and hated being there. My mum was in love with him, obviously, so she didn't want to leave. And then one day it turned physical, And so I sort of got out of there and got to Dad's. But from the divorce, I was like, because they were so like powerful. Like I was like, that's what love is. Those two are what love is. And then when they broke up, I was like, nah, love doesn't last. And then after the stepdad situation, because I loved him, and after it turned physical, I was sort of like, man, how can someone say they love you and do that to you? And I was sort of like, man, love isn't real. And so then from that point, that sort of messed me up a lot in my, like probably 16 to 19, even to 20 actually. It sort of became like, it isn't real. And so I started doing things for my own gain. Like I just saw things out of what I could get out of situations and how I could manipulate it, because I'm like, love isn't real, so then I don't have love in me towards others.
That's a real powerful
it was bad.
Declaration.
Yeah, it was. Because, I didn't think it was real. I thought it was lying. And so when people would say it to me, I'd be like, okay, sure you do.
Yeah, right. So you're very closed off then?
I was, yeah. At that point, I was very closed off.
Ice cold.
Yeah. I started listening to worldly music and got really into like Eminem and stuff, which just pulled me further away. It's not till recently I've just sort of like really felt convicted on worldly music, just how much damage it actually did to me. And yeah, so I became very isolated from my family, which just pushed me further into the world with my friends. And I moved to this Catholic school, and it was very, I'd say very fake, like a lot of fake friendships, all about popularity sort of thing, who's the best footy player, all that sort of party stuff. And so that just sort of became my mindset. And I knew like all the friends would betray each other like every day basically. So it just became this whole in my mindset, like people will use you when they need you. When they don't need you, they're gone. So don't rely on anyone. Don't like let anyone in, because it's not worth it. Just get what you want out of all situations.
Wow.
Which is literally became my mindset for everyone. Like it seeped over to everyone. I think that was my way of dealing with pain, was to just switch off emotionally towards things.
Yeah.
But the damage, then it started seeping into everything.
If this is what love is, I don't want it.
Yeah.
So just
cut it. Yeah. With people I cared about. But then it started like I said, just seeped into like best friends. Like I've been best friends with Bailey since year 2.
Wow.
Yeah. Cool. And like me and him fell apart for about 3 years when I moved schools, just because I was like, friendships, they're not important anymore.
There's no love in them either.
No love in them. Like I got bad. Like I got very
cynical.
Yeah, just cynical. Just for like, it doesn't last. Nothing lasts. Will come to an end. So what's the point in caring about it? Like if you're with them, get the fun out of them. Like be all about them and have fun and all that stuff. But then if it's gone, it's gone. Forget about it, sort of thing. And yeah, that just came into everything. And I found pretty soon I was in a pretty dark place.
Yeah, it would lead to darkness.
Yeah, it was. And then a relationship happened, and that was about 3 years I was with her. But it was the same thing the entire time. I was just like, it'll end one day. Like it's great right now, but it will end. And so that was the mindset I had. And she was very like, we can make it work. Did a lot for me. And I was just sort of like, it'll eventually end. So what's the point in like loving her? And that was on and off for about 3 years, and then that finally cut it. She obviously had enough, and so she left. And then that hit that was around right before I came to chapel. So I came to chapel in 2021, in June 2021. Wow. And it was probably right before that, actually, that all of that fell apart. And yeah.
So how was it with your brother during that time?
He literally was going through the same thing.
Right.
He just went through a breakup as well for his first. So we were both in this sort of
funk.
Literally, this funk where we were just like, man, what is life?
Yeah.
That was towards the end of 2021, start of 2022. And we hit a gym phase. That was our solution. We just we're just like, let's just go gym. And we got really into the gym. But we're both pretty quiet.
Yeah.
It became pretty quiet.
All right, I think I remember your very first day at chapel. It was at the senior citizens hall?
Yeah.
And you came in with your dad?
Yeah.
How did your dad hear about it?
He trained with one of the girls that go, but I don't think we've ever met her. Wow. We've ever seen her.
Okay.
I think she stopped going after.
Right.
But he was like, I've just heard about this place.
Cool.
And so we came from a pretty boring old church. He used to go to this church when they were all just old people. It wasn't very fun. And so me and Aaron when they were like, oh, we're going to this new church at a senior citizens, and I was like, oh, I don't want to go. Like I was partying in the world, and he's like, no, just come, and I was like, fine, we'll go once, but I swear if I see old people, I'm leaving. I'm not coming back again. And we came, and yeah, it was just like we both came out of it, and we were just like, man, never been there before, but like from day one, I felt like home.
Wow.
I just felt this like presence there that I was just like, there's something here.
I remember, was it the first day we had a circle?
It was the circle there. And I remember then, what is this setup? Like, I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
We're all in a circle.
Because I remember you guys sitting by the stage.
Yeah.
And I think I came up and introduced myself.
Yeah.
I said, oh, who's this man with these two fine young men? Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's the first, we never did that again because for the first time ever, we got complaints from next door.
Yeah.
And we just assumed it was because the speakers were on the floor, so the reverberation or something. So that's the first time we did it, and the last time I think because of that. We've never had a complaint before. So okay, so you're walking in, you're sort of holding hands with the devil at the same time.
Definitely, yeah.
So what's sort of going on there?
Oh, like we'd been to a few churches, we'd sort of gone to Elevation. A little bit. So like even throughout my party years, I still claimed to be a Christian, which is probably the bad bits because a lot of times I'd tell people like, oh yeah, I'm a Christian. And then I'd go and do all this.
Right.
And that's something like probably one of my biggest regrets was a lot of people would now think, oh, that's what Christianity is because of like how I acted. I'd be like, yeah, I'm a Christian. I love God, blah, blah, blah. And then I'd see me in the clubs and all that stuff. And so I'd been to a few churches. So it wasn't like I was uncomfortable at church, but it was more just, it was boring.
Yeah.
And I always believed in God. So my dad like always talked about stories and I knew he was real and I knew what he could do, but it was sort of like Dad was always very big on counting the cost. Like if you do give your life to God, your life as you want it to be is over. Like it's now about God. And so I was sort of like, man, I don't want to give up my life yet. Like I've got all these things I want to do. And yeah, I was very selfish. It was always about me. Like, what could I get out of this? What can happen? I always had big dreams for rugby and stuff like that. And yeah, I remember so many times praying, like, Lord, let me make it in this rep team, and then I'll glorify you, and then I'll heal my injury, and then I'll glorify you, and all this stuff. And yeah, it's funny looking back at that now and just being like, yeah, you got to give me all this thing, and then I'll like praise you for it. But yeah, I'd experienced a lot of injuries, a lot of mishaps with footy and stuff. And so I was pretty like, I'd say depressed, that's probably the wrong word. But I was just sort of like, man, just nothing's worth it in this world. Pretty just deflated. When I came in, yeah, I was pretty like, if God's real, I knew he was real, but there was nothing good in my life. And so I was sort of like, what's he going to do?
Wow.
Like, what's he going to give me sort of thing?
It's a cynicism, eh?
It was. Yeah. And I used to say, I'm a realist. Like, all these optimists, they don't know what life is. But yeah, but it was more, and like, you think even at that point, I'd be like, Dad's telling me about all these incredible stories. You think I'd be like, oh, maybe I should give this a go. Just wasn't, because I was just stuck in sin. So you're just blinded when you're living like that. Yeah, like that power just doesn't do anything. It doesn't, like, you don't think you need it when you're just blinded by sin. And obviously being a teenager, probably the worst thing I ever got was a phone early in my teen years. And it just makes you start to become like addicted to the short-term highs of life. And so even when I came to church and like from day one, I was like, there's something different about this place, which felt like a genuineness about chapel. And so I was like, man, there's something here. And for a while, I was sort of like, man, chapel, like all the people around chapel are so good. And I was like, I can like get to know God here. Like this would be a good place to start to get to know God. And so I'd like try, and then I'd fall back into something. Because it was just, that's why I honestly think it took so long, because my brain was so used to short-term highs and chasing it. And so no matter how many times I'd be like, okay, like now I'm going to dedicate myself to God. Like now I'm going to start. Now I'm going to read my Bible. Like there'd be 2 hours of free time that I'm like, I should read my Bible here, but like my brain is just pick up your phone, get that dopamine hit. And yeah, so that took a while. So I was in chapel in June 2021. It wasn't until June 2022 that I proper found like God, because I was still partying.
Was it like, so I'm just trying for you to get words and language around the feelings, like what was going on. Say you'd come on Sunday to sort of to appease your dad, I suppose, but there was also something there.
There was something there.
But what? So Saturday night, or early Sunday morning when you got home, okay, you're going to church. What's your mindset then? Is it like, oh no, or oh yeah? Like, what's sort of the thought there?
When we used to go to different churches, it was like, to appease Dad, we'll do this because he wants us to.
Right.
And then from day one of chapel, it was sort of like it was always a chore, but when it was at chapel, it was sort of like a little bit of do I have to? But I sort of want to.
Okay.
Like, because I knew, like, I always knew God was real. So it was sort of like, he can do things. Like, I knew he could do things. So I'm sort of like, man, something could change today. Something could happen today. Okay. I could meet someone that, like, changes my life today. And so it was always like this, it literally felt like a battle between my flesh and spirit. Because I'd wake up, but I don't feel like going to church. I've been out all night. Like, if I want to go to church right now, everyone's going to know. Everyone's going to see it. But then it was sort of like my spirit was sort of just pulling me towards like, man, something could happen today. You could see something that could change your life today. And so it's always like, nah, I don't really want to go, but if you guys want to go, I'll come.
Right.
And and that was how it was with Aaron as well. And Dad was like, he was sold straight away. So he was like, yeah, let's go. And so, it just sort of was slowly, just going for the people at the start.
Yeah,
I found the people was what brought me into it.
Yep.
Just meeting some of the younger boys and stuff.
Yep.
And that sort of made me, man, they were just different. They just had something different about them. They had like a genuine happiness. And I was like, man, you guys like aren't doing what I'm doing. I'm partying and I'm like sleeping around and drinking. This is the fun stuff. Like, why are you happy and I'm not? And I was like, there's something real about their happiness, or there's always something like fake about mine. And so I was sort of like,
So there's like this inner conflict.
It was, yeah.
How long did that last? You're saying about a year?
About a year.
Which is only 52 Sundays. So, and you miss miss a few.
Yeah.
So, 40, because that's basically what your Christianity's become, right?
Mm.
It's become a religious act of turning up on a Sunday morning.
Yeah.
You don't want to be there, but you do want to be there.
Yeah, but you do want to be there.
There's this drawing in, okay, so there's this real conflict.
Mm-hmm.
And it lasted about a year.
It lasted about a year. I think it lasted way longer for me being introverted. So Aaron loved being around people, and he was always sort of like, man, when he comes, he's like, let's get to know people. Like, let's hang around and talk. And I'm introverted. Dad's a bit introverted. So we're just like, nah, let's leave. I've heard the message. Let's get out of here, sort of thing. I just didn't, because I was still sort of in that mindset that friendships don't last, sort of stuff like that. Even though I was interested and I was sort of like, man, people are different here. It was just sort of like your brain is used to thinking that way. So I'm just like, I don't need people. I don't need friends. I don't need community. Like, if I'm going to find God, I'll do it myself, sort of thing. It was like that for a while. And then Aaron signed up to the internship.
That's right.
And he was like, you should do it. And Dad was like, you should do it. And I was like, I didn't feel it. Obviously, Aaron felt something to want to do it. And I was like, I didn't feel it that time. But I was like, this can't really be a bad thing. And so, I signed on to it. As everyone knows, and then I quit day one. Nothing about the internship. It was awesome,
you've got to be real.
And I just felt like convicted on living the double life at that point. I was like, I can't be really rocking up on Sunday and Monday saying I'm about the Lord, and then Friday, Saturday doing my own thing.
Yeah.
And so he got into it, and he got into it fast. He just dived straight in and went pretty hard into it, which Dad obviously loved because Dad's always been praying over us for a while now. And so he got into it. And then it was probably seeing him just go from strength to strength, and God just start turning up for him, and start moving things. Like a lot of people don't know the old Aaron.
No,
Everyone's like, Aaron's amazing, Aaron's this, and like obviously your family sees the worst of you, and so there was a lot of bad about him that I saw starting to just change, and I was just like, man, like Aaron's always been this way, and now he's like not being. He's always been a quick temper. He can say things that hurt, and he just started being more understanding and more graceful about stuff. And I'm sitting there like, bro, what's
going on?
Like this is years of you being this way, and all of a sudden you're just changing. And I'm like, man. And so it was just being in an environment where all the boys at chapel were graceful and loving, and Aaron was starting to become graceful and loving, and I was like, man, God can really do things. If he does it on Aaron, he can do it on anyone. But yeah, and then Aaron just started inviting me to more. Like Mikey was always sort of hitting me and Aaron up, come to this, come to that, and it was just for me, nah. I got gym. I got to do my own thing. And then yeah, it was a boys' hang that Aiden sort of set up at your house.
Yeah,
and Aaron was like, just come, bro. And I was like, nah. And he's like, nah, just come. I was like, nah. And like me and Aaron are very like, if we invite you to, like if I invite him to something, he says, nah, stuff you then, don't come. But he was just like, nah, come. And I was just like, bro, get off my back. Like, no, I'm not coming. And then he's like, nah, like actually come. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I was like, fine, I'll come, whatever, I'll see you there. And like hung up. And it was around that time that I was starting to feel the pull, starting to feel the conviction on all the things that I was doing. I would say that was the point that I was just coming out of the world. I was sort of like at that point where I was like, it's like I'm done with the world. Like the prodigal son, even the servants at my father's house live better than this.
How quick does the world lose its, like, you do everything once and it's sort of there to try and hook you in for more, but it's just the same.
It's the same thing.
Rot.
Yeah. That was what I found. Like the first time, it's like, this is amazing. This is the life now. Like, wow. Like with all my footy mates. And I'm like, man, this is the best. And then you go again next weekend and you're like, yeah, it was pretty good. It wasn't as good as that one, but like, we'll get there eventually. And then like literally 3 months gone. And that's how it happened for me at the end of 2021. I was overweight because of all just drinking. I was broke as, I was depressed as, and I was just sort of sitting, it was New Year's Eve, and I was sitting at my house.
Wow.
And there was nothing, like all my other friends had other things to do. And I like, New Year's Eve was always a big thing to me. I'm like, yeah, I love New Year's Eve. It's got to be a big party, good way to end the year. And I had nothing except my brother. And he was having a few of his friends over at the house. And I was like, how depressing is this? I'm like the popular one and I'm at my brother's nerdy little party for New Year's Eve. And I was just like, it just smacked me. That was the end of 2021, started 2022. It just smacked me.
So it's quick how the world just does not offer.
No.
I think it's the law called the law of diminishing returns. You know?
Yeah.
You need more of what you had to have the same feeling.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just getting less and less.
Yeah.
And you don't want to buy in anymore.
No.
It's destroying your soul. So, wow. So you have this nerdy New Year's. It must have been the 2022 and coming into 2022.
Coming into 2022, so bad. So bad. So boring.
Wow. But yet, like on the other side, so pure and so.
Oh, I needed it because I think that was the first time I'd cried in like about a year and a half, probably not even 2 years. Because before that, I was just so numb. I was so numb to everything. And then, it was sort of like, man, what does my life come to? Like I was when I left school in year 12, I was playing like really good footy. I was sort of in the mix of getting a manager, and I was like, I'm going to play rep. I'm going to like go from strength to strength. And everyone was sort of like, man, he's this athlete that's like I was the popular kid. And so everyone was sort of like, man, he's going to go places. And then like blink, it's 2 years down the track and I've got nothing. Like nothing. I'd basically quit footy because of all the injuries. I'd just been drinking and partying for like the last 3 to 4 months. And I was like, man, where has this gotten me? Like this has gotten me nothing. Blinked and 2 years with nothing to show. And I was sort of sitting there and I was just like, and I just broke down crying because I was just like, I hated what I saw.
Those guys around?
No. I went into the room. I was
going to say.
Aaron was out with his friends, like about 4 of them. And then I was just like, this is depressing. I can't be here anymore. And so I walked into the room and I just broke down. And I was just like, because I was looking in the mirror and I was like, you're fat. You're broke. You had all these prospects and you're nothing now. Like you've become nothing. And this is what the world gave you. Like you sort of left God. This is what you wanted. and this is where it's gotten you. And so I was like, man, something has to change. And I remember I prayed for like the first time in a while, and I was like, God, don't let me be in the same position at the end of 2022 that I am now. I was like, do whatever you have to, but don't let me be back here. And yeah, so that, I think that was the very beginning. It still took about 6 months for me to find him.
For sure.
But that was the beginning of being like, the world can no longer give what I want anymore. Like, it's not fulfilling.
Awesome. And was there a time you remember of surrender, like a moment, or a sort of a build up, and then like a baptism, as it were?
Yeah.
So how was that process of like, okay, I'm done with the world, but then there's the trails, right? So it's I'm done with it, but one last round.
Yeah.
I'm done with it, one last round. So there's this weaning.
Yeah, definitely.
I suppose the slow death of the world, of the flesh. Like, was there a moment when it?
Yeah, July 7th was the moment. Was the very moment. Before then, it was the weaning, and it was all right. Stop partying. Like, I'm going to cut out the clubs. But then, like, if it was a house party, I'll still go to it. And then it was I cut out the house party, and then like cut out drinking altogether, which for me was never been a big problem. I just don't like to taste alcohol. So for me, it was fine. That's done. And then it was always chasing girls. And so it took that 6 months. I was hitting the gym, so I was starting to I was losing the fat. So I was starting to be like, oh man, I can like try with girls, sort of thing, get more. And so it was about 6 months of just sort of been like, all right, I'm going to make myself the best looking guy that I can. And I was like in and out of relationships, like small little things with girls that 6 months. And I just like, every single time I was with them, I just kept feeling this conviction. And I was like, nah, go away. Don't do this to me. I've worked hard to get what I'm looking like now. Don't do this to me. And then it was June. It was on my 21st. I had my 21st last year. And I was just drinking basically the entire night. And it was just like, it was everything that I went to the Pav, which is, I used to love that place. And then I went out clubbing to one of my favorite clubs, and used to love that place. And I just hated the entire night.
Wow.
The entire night. I was like, I don't want to be here. Like, this is supposed to be the best. I'm 21. Like, it's supposed to be one of the best nights of my life. And I hated it. I was just like, man, I was just standing in the clubs, trying to like look like I'm enjoying myself. And I was like, I would rather be anywhere else but here.
Shallow, you'd rather be a nerd.
I would literally rather be a nerd sitting at home having nothing to do on my 21st than be here. It was just like, I could see everyone else, and I was sort of like, man, like the blinds that were always on me were just taken off, and I could just see the world. And I was sort of like, man, there's nothing here. Everyone is empty. Like, everyone here looks empty. And I was like that. And I was like, man, I got to stop. I got to get out of this. I do not want to be here anymore. And it was also at the same time I was sort of with this girl from my gym, and that had stopped about like a week, like probably that week actually. And she like was just the perfect example of the world. And she was really into like the star signs and crystals and witchcraft stuff. And so, yeah, she pulled out this little book of all these, and I was just like, all the star signs and crystals. And I was like, man,
I'm out.
I got to get out. And it was like all hit on that same week. It just all came to this, I got to get out. I can't be here anymore. And so that was that last night. I've never been clubbing since, never been out since, because it just all came to this halt that I was just like, I hate this. This is killing me to be here. And so I was like, I'm done with the world. And so I was like, man, I need to give God a go. I need to,
all in.
Like, that was the point where I was like, all in. Like, it had been like this, oh God, thank you for helping me.
You're a good add-on.
You're a good add-on.
I need you.
I like the people you put in my life. But it was like, I'm not ready yet to give you my entire life. And then it was that point that I was like, it was July 7th when I rang my dad and asked him, like, what does God want in a man? And he's like, a man that is humble of heart. And I was like, what does that mean? And he's like, a man that doesn't look for his own glory. And I remember just being at my mum's, and I just started like almost tearing up, because I was like, that's not me. That's not me. And I was sort of like, man, why has God brought me here? Like, why am I thinking this way? Like, why has he brought me out of the world? I'm not what he wants. Like, I don't have that. Like, my whole life it's been about me. And I was sort of, man, what can I give you now? I've got nothing. Like, I'm just empty. And so it sort of took a while of being like just searching searching the scriptures and stuff.
You're sort of thinking, I'm not worthy now.
Yeah, I was, because I was like,
I'm worthless.
I've got nothing. Like Aaron's the golden child. Like he was like powering through internship. Everyone's loving him. Everyone's telling me how great Aaron is. I'm like, I know he is. And I'm like, so like, oh, what do I can't do what he does. Like, I'm not him. What do I have to give you? And yeah, it's funny how he like sort of pulls you in and then just goes quiet for a little bit and just leaves you there, just sort of like, what's going on? Like, you brought me to this place and now you're gone, sort of thing. But it was a good time where I was sort of like separated myself from a lot of people, and I was sort of like, I need to seek him. He brought me to this sort of place, but he sort of just left me in the space here, and I need to find him. Like, and so it was me searching him.
Wow.
And me starting to go through the scriptures, and worshiping and stuff like that, that I was sort of like, there's got to be something here. Like, you brought me here. I need to get back to that feeling of what it felt like with him. And then, it was worship one day. And I was sort of just worshiping. And then I felt him say to me, like, you're not a failure.
Ooh.
And I made you for a purpose. And I just broke down crying. And I was like, that was the first bang. I was like, he's real. He's real.
Wow.
And I was sort of like, man, this is incredible. Obviously I was still living in sin. A lot of addictions that I was still powering through, and so I was still doing those. And then it started to get, the devil just came for me hard at that point, hard with the addictions that I was in. And I was just like, again, like it was a couple of weeks later, I cried out to God. I was like, this is going to consume me. This is going to destroy me if you don't save me. And again, he like showed up, because I just felt grace. I think that was the first time I felt grace, where it was like the things that I was doing, because I was like, man, like, you brought me here and I'm still attacking you. Like, all the things I'm doing are so against you. And I just felt so terrible about myself. And I just felt him say, like, I forgive you. Like, it's fine, I forgive you. And I just felt this rush through my entire body, and my like hair stuck up, and I was just like, oh my God. And I felt like this love that I'd never felt before. And I was just like, and that was the point. That was July 7th that I was like, I'm yours.
Wow.
You've forgiven me. Like, you died on a cross for me. All the things I've done in my entire life, and you laid on that cross for me. Like, I'm yours now. I've got nothing. I've got nothing else. Apart from you, I have no good thing now. And so I was just like, that's it. I'm done.
It's sort of beauty in that, the way.
It is.
Of emptiness.
Yeah.
Emptiness. Like surrender. Mm-hmm. Done. Mm. But you have everything, nothing but everything.
Nothing. Yeah, that's what my dad always used to say.
Yeah,
you have nothing, but now you have everything.
Yeah, and he can work with that.
Yeah,
nothing is impossible for God.
Yeah, exactly.
So when he has nothing, it's impossible for him to do nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
How amazing! So that was July last year.
Yeah.
So what's the ride been? What's the walk been like? For the last, it's been a year then.
It's been a year, yeah, a year and a bit.
Like a slow burn, or there's been some key moments.
There's been some key moments.
It's just consistency type thing.
Yeah, it was more just like, so the start obviously was just finding out what am I. I got into youth, and I was just like, I shouldn't be in youth. Like, if these kids knew what I was doing 2 months ago, I shouldn't be in youth. And so that was a battle. But also, like, I've got nothing. And
unworthiness.
Yeah, because I'm like, Aaron, man, he's just so, he always hits the mark. He always has. And like, he got into youth, and straight away the kids loved him, and he was just powering through it. And I was like, man, like, what am I doing here? Like, I shouldn't be here. And sort of, I went to breakfast with Mikey, and he sort of was like talking me into like God, like, yeah, you've gotten, like, he's cleaned you out, but like now he's going to start building.
Yeah.
And so now he's going to start showing what you can give. And so that was, it was just a journey of sort of finding out what am I good for now? Finding out my spiritual gifts and sort of stuff like that.
Yeah.
Aaron brought home the booklet, that spiritual gifts booklet,
nice.
And I did it. And I'm like, it was horrible, because I saw evangelism on there. And I hated talking about God before. Like, I was like, nah. Like, and when people would be like, you're a Christian, right? I'd be like, yeah. Like that. I just hated talking about God. And then I saw evangelism on there, and I was like, no. But I just started becoming more and more that. Like, I was still seeing some of my worldly friends, and I'd just be like, man, God's awesome. God's awesome. Man, he's changed my life. And they're just sort of like, bro, what? And I just started talking about it, I started wanting to talk about him. And that sort of fire started burning. Because I'm just like, man, if me just talking about him, this is the best I can, like, is what I can give him, I'll give him that. I've got nothing else to give him. And so I was sort of just like, that started burning, and being in youth, just being in environments where you can just be talking to people about God and stuff. Yeah. It just started building on top of building, and I was just like, man, this is fun. I was like starting to enjoy life, and I was like, this is like, life is good.
It's more fulfilling.
It was so fulfilling, like being around people that genuinely wanted nothing from you, but just wanted to give to you. And that's why, like Bailey, around that sort of time, he was going to his dad's church, and he was sort of like in and out of this church. And I was sort of trying to like, nah, bro, come. Like, and he obviously struggled a lot with people not valuing him. And I was sort of like, man, you will be valued.
He's a weapon, man.
You will be valued here because they don't want to take anything from you. They just want to give. And that's what shocked me about Chapel. Because usually, because my mindset was always, what can I get from people? So it was always, what do people want from me? And so when I sort of came and people had that heart of just giving without wanting anything back, I was sort of like, it just builds you straight up. And within months, Bailey just started like coming alive. Like the Bailey I always knew everyone else was starting to see.
Yeah.
Then I was like, man, this is like, the people here just want to see you succeed and see you happy and see you fulfilled. And so, life just started going up and up and up. Reading the Bible more. Worship became a thing I actually enjoyed. Cool. I didn't like worship music, and then I just started, like, I love it now. I love it. And everything just started changing. Like everything I thought I wanted in my life just started changing. The things I was like, nah, this is what I want to go. This is where I want to go with my life. They're gone now. Wow. And I'm sort of like, man, like everything started switching. And my mum's obviously not in the church at the moment, but she would like, I'd come home and she'd be like, man, you're changed. You've changed. You've changed. There's something different. Like you're not talking the same. You're not acting the same. You're not wanting the same things. And I'm like, all my other friends were starting to be like there's something different about him. Which obviously brought questions like, well,
yeah, for sure.
And so
because it's like if you said, only 2 months ago I wasn't great, and here I am giving out nothing because I've got nothing.
Yeah.
But then it would be the same argument like in 6 months' time. Oh, only 6 months ago, or a year's time.
Yeah.
Oh, a year ago. Or 2 years ago. I'm still not 2 years' time. I'm still not worthy.
Yeah, still not worthy. Yeah.
But you're not giving this. You're empty anyway in that sense. Yeah. So you're only giving out of the fruit of the Spirit, of the love, joy, peace, patience, because that's literally all you've got.
Yeah.
So, that unworthiness is a big, big barrier, I reckon, for people, looking at themselves thinking, all I've done, I'm not good enough. Last week I was only this. So they disqualify themselves. But nothing qualifies us except the grace and mercy of God anyway.
Yeah, and that was always like when my dad sort of said to me, it's not about you.
Yeah.
And it took a while to sort of like that hit me straight away, but it took a while to sort of understand what that meant. And so like, when I was empty, it was sort of like, now you're a vessel. You've got nothing left, so now God can use you. You're a vessel now. So he can come fill you, and he will start like doing those things. And he's very like, he was always good with the keeping me humble. And it's sort of like, and I often used to like to think back of who I was, because I was like, that is who I am without Jesus. Like, that's the real me. Take Jesus away from me, that's who I'll be.
You'll be in a sense everything but nothing.
Yeah.
But now you're nothing but everything.
Everything, yeah.
It's really opposite, eh?
It is, and it's sort of hard. Like I'm talking to my friends about that, and they're sort of like, "Oh, has he giving you a lot of money yet?" And I was sort of like, "Bro, that's like, it's the mindset that you're in the world, because the world says you have to be successful, you have to be the best looking, you have to be the most popular." But they're all unhappy, and all my friends that are like that, they're just unhappy, like I was. And so I'm like, it's a different feeling. It's hard to explain. I'm full now. I don't have any of that, but I'm full, and I don't want any of that. Because like that's not who I am anymore.
That's amazing.
Yeah, he's incredible, and he just.
What would you say, like, when someone's in that funk for, either halfway in or whatever. How do you sort of shake them? Say, mate, what are you doing? Like, because it can't be hopeless.
Nah. Yeah.
What's your word of encouragement for people maybe stuck in that sort of phase of life?
I think, like, obviously, if you're not around people that can speak God into you and plant those seeds, then obviously you need to get around those people. But so for me, like when I'm talking to friends that don't believe in God, I'm like, it's like I'm in my mind, I'm planting the seed,
right?
And I'm making them aware, because people know they're not happy. Like, you're in the world, you're not happy. Like, I was always like, you pretend to be happy.
Hang on, isn't there Coca-Cola? Open happiness or something?
Yeah.
It's gotten to that.
It has, because that is the world. Like, it's like, oh, you're not happy, then open your phone and watch something. Like, you're not happy, then eat this food and it'll like make you happy. But it's all short term. Like, and so like all my friends, they're always like, oh, my life's so good. And then 2 days later, they're texting me like, man, I'm depressed. Like, can you pray for me? And I'm sort of lost, like, bro, you know why? Like, I'm telling you these things and you know it's too late for you. Like, it's never going to fulfill you. Like, if the world, like I always say to my mate, if the world was fulfilling, I'd still be in it.
Right.
Because I was like, man, me and you were together.
Yeah.
We were doing all the things together. So, I liked the things that I was doing, and now I don't want to do it. So there's something must have changed. Like, something must fulfill me.
Because the Bible even says, right, there's pleasure in sin.
There
for
is.
A season. Like,
there is. For a season. That's how it gets you.
It fuels your flesh, and you're like, wow, I want more and more and more. It's this gratification. But it's gratification of...
It's momentary.
Emptiness.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. That's really cool. So, what's sort of the future? What are you thinking, step by step, obviously, but is there any sort of vision or like long term?
Mine is still,
right now?
it's still sort of like pushing towards, like, my dad's very big on seeking Jesus, and seek him and seek him and seek him. Seek and you shall find, but only when you seek with all your heart. And like, obviously me and Aaron, we're very different. Aaron is a lot more loving of people, which I'm trying to build on. And so he shows his love for God by loving people. And mine is more of an intimate relationship with God. I like to get away from people and just be alone with him. And when I do, he just blesses. He just blesses and blesses and blesses. And I'm sort of like, anywhere I go and whatever I do with my life, it'll only come from doors Jesus opens. So I'm like, seek him above everything for me. That's how I sort of seek him above everything. If he isn't everything to you, you're never going to get anywhere. And like, obviously I'm very like, man, I want to do things for him, but I got to be careful. I'm not stepping out on what I want instead of what he wants for me.
His will disguised as your decision.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I'm sort of like, if I'm walking with the Lord, then I can't step wrong. And so it's just stay close to him and he'll light your path. Obviously, there's a lot of things I want to do. I'm very, like I said, interested in the resurrection power. So I'm like always healing, casting out demons, spreading the gospel. That stuff is very passionate to, like, that I'm sort of driven towards that stuff.
Awesome.
But yeah, it's one step at a time.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate your input on and sharing. Just seeing God work, in a sense, really rescue you, Thankful for, family around your life.
Yeah.
Your dad, your mum, your brother. That see you at your worst, but also seeing you change.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great witness. They're not going to say so unless your family don't mince words.
No.
That's why they're family.
Yeah, definitely.
So, but they stick with you even when you're in your worst. So, that's a real testament in itself. And even you just being drawn, yielding to the hand of the Lord is a great thing. And I pray, and I'm sure you'll be a great encouragement to others, man. So,
thank you.
Man, thanks for sharing today. Sam,
right.
sorry you couldn't be here.
That's all good.
It's probably better without him. But, no, he's great. So, thanks, Josiah. You've become a real... My son really takes a shine to you. He really
love
likes you. You have great interaction with him. And, you're a real sort of strong point, a reference point for others, especially in the young generation. So I think it's important to keep encouraging them, however that looks. So, but awesome.
Sweet.
Really, thank you for being on here.
Thank you for having me.
Great, man.
Thank you.